Hello, everyone. Just give it a few minutes before we go and see who's joining. All right, so this is pretty exciting news. I mean, if you've been watching the true crime community, then you'll know that Bryan Kohberger has filed for post-conviction relief. But anyway, let's go straight to the article. All right, so this article was with the New York Times, and Bryan Koberger said that he filed a petition to reopen the case. All right. And also, it says he blamed his guilty plea on false promises. So I wonder what that could be. But I don't have a subscription to the New York Times, so I'm not going to bring it up on screen right now. But anyway, let's go to this article. It was written by Mike Baker. Imagine, I don't suppose he was too thrilled in writing that article, but anyway. So I'm going to just read it for you. I'm sorry I don't have it up on screen. Let me see if I can just put a picture up on, okay. Sorry, I really didn't prepare this. See, I can't put this article up of the Times article. It's just going to cut me off. But let's go here and see. Nope, not working. All right, let's have a look here. Oh, sorry for the delay as well. I don't think I can share it. So, okay, never mind. Let's go back to the article quickly. So it says, the criminology student convicted last year of murdering 4 University of Idaho students in their home is seeking to abandon his guilty plea and obtain a trial. This is quite interesting because now it means that this is going to go back to trial. And claiming he is innocent. Well, it's about time because, guys, it's been almost 4 years and Bryan hasn't said anything. So when I heard this news, I was really, really happy. Anyway, it says that he claims that he's innocent and was misled into confessing to the high-profile killings. In an interview with the New York Times, Bryan Koberger, who is currently serving 4 life sentences, said he filed a petition challenging his conviction, citing concerns about how the plea deal came together. I think we all can say we have concerns about that. He says that my actual innocence is my truth, and the plea hinged on by false promises and blatant disinformation must be withdrawn. Mr. Koberger said in a statement provided to the Times on Sunday night, he reiterated in a phone call from prison in Idaho that he had an absolute claim of innocence. So this is going to be really, really interesting to see what he has to say about this. Remember, okay, so the article goes on. It says Mr. Koberger had not granted an interview or made public comments before speaking with the Times. Well, we all know he hasn't said anything. And I think he was pretty smart not to do that. He declined to discuss any evidence or other specific details related to his innocence claim. as well as the specific concerns he had about the plea process. I think we all have those concerns. It is rare for defendants to win a post-conviction challenge. This is what it says here. And of course, we're going to move to the part of the article where it says the family of Kaylee Gonsalves. Okay, so please don't take a shot at me if I mispronounce their surname because everybody says it differently. One of the victims said in a statement that Mr. Koberger was like a mosquito. You just can't seem to squat. Okay, we're going to circle back to that in a little bit because I do want to talk about this family in this live. The real tragedy is this. If even a fraction of the energy spent trying to free a guilty man were directed towards honoring the victims, there would be statues of them on every corner. These guys can't be for real. What statues are they referring to? I don't know. Okay, this is just a very, very strange remark to make. But anyway, there would be statues of them on every corner, parks bearing their names. You can't be for real. Anyway, and days set aside to remember the lives they lost at the hands of a narcissist. So I just want to get this straight as I'm reading this article. Basically, this family wants statues of their children on every corner. They want parks that bear their children's names and special holidays set aside just for them. Now, I don't want to be disrespectful, but with other victims, does this happen? I don't know, but in any ways, this is wild. So it says, again, at the hands of a narcissist. So we'll circle back to there. The Latah County Prosecutor's Office did not return a call seeking comment. Idaho Attorney General Roll Labrador released a statement saying his heart went out to the victims' families, noting they had already endured unimaginable loss and now must face today's deeply painful news. Okay, I'm not going to read too much of the article, but it just goes on as to what happened, and it said in court, law enforcement officials outlined the evidence against Mr. Koberger, his DNA. Okay, we've been through that a lot. And so I'm not going to read the whole article, but it goes on to say after he was arrested in December of 2022, Mr. Koberger's initial lawyer said his client was eager to be exonerated. We're seeing this now. Hi, KS Jason Art. I'm glad somebody's watching. Just felt like I was talking to myself for a bit. Anyway, I don't know if you have read this article from the New York Times. I'm just going over that a little bit. And it says here, court-appointed lawyers spent more than 2 years challenging the evidence collected against Mr. Koberger, only for a surprise plea deal to come together a few weeks before a trial was to begin. Oh yes, that was that huge data dump that was put onto his defense attorneys. So they go on to say in this article, Mr. Koberger accepted responsibility for the murders at a July 2025 hearing. He was not required to offer a motive for the killings and never has. The lack of a detailed confession outraged some of the victims' family members and even President Trump, who had called on the judge to demand an explanation from Mr. Koberger. So why did that not happen then? But I don't understand these families because here they say that he was never required to give a motive. And now that this is being challenged, the they're getting annoyed. I don't know, case Jason Art. Let me see. Closed captions. I don't know if I can do that here. Let's see. I think you can do it from where you're watching. On your device, you can probably put it on. So just let me know if you can hear me or if you can put it on. But anyway, they do say here that he was not required to offer a motive. So obviously, with this happening now, everything is going to come out. And the question then is, why are they so upset? Because now, if there is a new trial, they have perfect opportunity to ask Bryan what his motive was. Okay, we all know that it's not him. That's my view. It's not him at all. Anyway, it just pretty much goes on to talk about what happened. The two surviving roommates were in a bedroom on the home's first floor. One of them reported seeing a shadowy figure in the middle of the night and hearing a commotion. Goes on to talk about Dylan. It talks about one of the experts who worked on Mr. Kohberger's defense team has taken particular issue with the plea arrangement and the evidence. Okay. And so, like, I'm not going to go on with the whole article, but they do mention here in the plea agreements that Mr. Kohberger signed, he acknowledged that he knowingly, voluntarily, and intelligently waives all rights to appeal any and all issues in this case. Still, defendants can make other claims about the legal process through post-conviction relief. So I think we are going to talk about this when I bring Big Amish on, because he's going to give us a better understanding of what is happening with this case and how it's going to move forward. But he did predict that this was going to happen. So before we go on, mainstream media already got a hold of this. And so I'm sorry to put you guys through this, but anyway, I'm going to play a bit of this and then we can have a look at it together. Hi, Anthony, how are you? Well, this is my point with this whole thing. I don't know how they can accept a guilty plea, because remember, they say they didn't require him to allocute because all he would have done was lie. But yet they accepted when he said yes 4 times. So this doesn't make sense to me at all. Either he's a liar or he's not. So then if he's a liar, why would you accept his guilty plea as truth? But I think before we play the video, I'm not going to put it on screen. Sorry, guys, I'm just going to talk. So I don't know if any of you saw the Consoles family page, and I'll go to that quickly and I'll have a read through it. But anyway, I don't know about you guys. I'm really, really glad that Bryan has come out now and he's decided to talk about this. I don't want to violate any rules here, but I am going to put it on. So, okay, so let's go to what they wrote on their page. If you guys really want me to put it on screen, I can. Sorry, this was just like a last minute live. So it says, first off, we are not surprised. Even though Bill Thompson said with a plea deal, all appeals would be waived, we knew that wasn't factual. Anyway, his time to appeal was running out, September to be exact. So they are admitting that they knew about this. And the Gonzalez family statement, they write here, the mosquito you just can't seem to squat. That is what Koberger and his following have become to this family. So, of course, they're taking a shot at all of us, calling us his followers. We're not his followers. We are invested in the craziness of this case. We read Mr. Baker's story, and he must be so proud of himself for speaking with Mr. Koberger because the story didn't have much else in it, other than a guilty man claiming he is innocent once again. Nothing in the story or in Koberger's statement does he allude to the fact that he did not knowingly, voluntarily, and intelligently admit to murdering the 4 victims. Well, I don't see why he should, because he didn't. Kaylee, Maddie, Xana, and Ethan. Quite to the contrary, he appeared in court in a hearing in front of a judge with his 4 lawyers. He did this after deciding not to leave his fate and the facts of the case up to a jury to decide his guilt. He never cried wolf or claimed that he was uninformed, pressured, or that there were issues with the discovery that he and his counsel had for 2 years that he thought should have been challenged. Then they go on to say, I'm sure there will be a hearing, as that is now the legal process works, and the defendant will get another day in court. Well, I hope so, because it didn't happen the first time. And then they go on to say, a nice break from his solitary confinement, getting to go for a ride. Geez, these people are wild, eh? I don't know, the Gonzalez family, geez. Maybe some different food, photos taken, and the attention all back on him as his innocence. The real issue is that if as much energy was put into honoring the victims in this case as trying to set a guilty man free, there would be statues. Sorry guys, I'm a little bit under the weather, so sorry about that. Anyway, this is where they say this as well. They go on to say, the real issue is that if as much energy was put into honoring the victims in this case as trying to set a guilty man free, there would be statues of the victims on every corner with parks and days honoring their ultimate sacrifice. I wonder if they're telling us something here now. Sacrifice. Why would they use a word like that? Do you not find it a little bit odd to use the word sacrifice? The ultimate sacrifice their lives at the hands of a narcissist. Regardless of how this turns out, our family is 100% ready. An actual trial this time, let's go. Okay, so they on board with it. So they say, we are confident he will get the death penalty that he escaped by pleading guilty the first time around. Just an absolute waste of time and taxpayers' money. It's a disgrace. So we are moving on, LOL. It's also a bit weird that they come with this LOL story. Like, wow. You moving on? These guys are not moving on. They post as if there are celebrities on their page every single day. And I guess this WS lawsuit is bothering them now because with Kohberger doing this, I wonder what it's going to do to the lawsuit. We are going to go a little bit more in depth with it, but I just wanted to put this out. And then she says, I guess I better get me a Death Row Records shirt for every day of the week now. This is pretty disgusting. And of course, this will affect their foundation, and that is the Murder Has a Name Foundation. It's really going to upset them a lot. So, I mean, they wanted the truth, so they couldn't wait to get it out there. But anyway, okay, let me play a bit of this because, of course, they have partnered on that foundation with Nancy Grace after their little stunt at CrimeCon. So let's do this. Just going to add this. Let's have a little bit of a watch because mainstream media has already jumped onto this. Okay. Tell me if you guys can see what's happening here. I'm going to play a little bit of this. course, Nancy jumped onto this.
To 4 murders. They were worse than murders. They were slaughters of 4 innocent college students, University of Idaho.
There's no easy way to report this other than what in the HELL? 4-time convicted killer Bryan Kohberger now claims he's innocent and wants to withdraw his guilty plea. Repeat, Bryan Kohberger, 4-time convicted killer, now claims, I didn't do it. I'm innocent. I'm withdrawing my guilty plea. I first got the bombshell from the victim's family. I thought something must be wrong. They're right. Bryan Kohberger seeking to withdraw his guilty plea. If that happens, please, dear Lord, bring in an independent prosecutor, not that POS that pled it out cheap to start with. Joining me, Crime Stories investigative reporter Dave Mack. What the hey?
Nancy, I thought that all of this was already settled, that Bryan Kohberger was not going to be able to go back on his guilty plea.
How dumb are these people? Is Nancy a prosecutor for real? I mean, she knows. She knows there is something as post-conviction relief. So, hi everyone. Sorry if I'm not greeting all of you in the chat, but hi to everyone that's watching. All right, Bianca, if you've got the link, you can post it in the chat and I'll play it now. But these guys are acting as if they don't know. Watch this guy. Of course, Nancy, she's going to have a longer episode out tomorrow. And this is going to affect her relationship with Kaylee's family and that whole foundation that they set up. Because, like I said, all of this is going to affect that WSU lawsuit, and it's going to affect the amount of money. I can't wait. I actually can't wait for these people. I wonder if their followers will actually wake up and see how much they lied. But let's watch a bit.
And do this to us. I mean, I say to us because we were so invested in this case. We were so tied into the victims. And for him to now come back a year later and say he is absolutely, this is what he says, an absolute claim of innocence, Nancy. It is despicable. And I cannot believe we're having to talk about him now because he's saying basically they lied to him, that he pled guilty.
Okay, Dave Mack, I think you're sitting down, but you may need to lay down for this. Why am I seeing him? Why can't I see the victims? Why can't I see Kelly? Why can't I see Maddie, Ethan? Where are the victims? Bryan Koberger, lay down, Dave Mack. Bryan Koberger now claims he's innocent and wants to withdraw his guilty plea a year after he admitted in open court he butchered 4 students. He now claims he was duped, tricked into agreeing to a guilty plea because of false promises and blatant maintaining a, quote, absolute claim of innocence. Duped? What, that he was misled?
Do you guys remember that Dylan said in the beginning it wasn't him? She couldn't even pick him up out of a lineup, right? She actually said that. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm so happy that this guy's finally standing up for himself.
What is he saying? His fleet of defense attorneys all got together to trick him?
Nancy, can I add something to this? Because there was a problem with when we saw this happen where he pleads guilty but does not really have to allocute. He didn't have to say anything. Remember, the prosecution let him off.
Sorry, I'm stopping and starting. Yes, he did not have to allocute. And that is the big problem, because you would think in a case like that, not to butcher it, that they would have said, tell us something, anything that only the perpetrator knows. Tell us where the weapon is. Tell us where the weapon is. And they didn't require that. Now these guys are acting so surprised.
Easy. And I knew this was going to happen because he didn't admit to anything really in real life. I mean, yeah, okay, I did it. And I agree, I won't come back later and say I didn't do it. But he's doing that. And he didn't have to allocate. He didn't tell us what he did or why he did it. He didn't have to tell us anything. And when I say us, I'm not talking about the families, the victims. He didn't have to say jack. And you know what? I really wonder what Kaylee Gonzalez's sister is saying right this minute, Nancy, because she would let him have it. Saying he is
Who is this? We don't care about what Kaylee Gonzalez's sister said. Remember what she said about him in court? What she called him at sentencing during her very theatrical victim impact statements. So nobody actually cares what Olivia has to say.
absolutely
Well, I can tell you this much.
I've
I've heard from several of the victims' families so far, and they all independently, separated in time and space, say POS. I think you know what that means. It's not a technical legal term. Guys, in the last hours, this is not just an interview, a jailhouse interview where he's like, I didn't do it. No. Post-conviction relief motion has been filed today. Post-conviction relief. What does that mean? After your conviction. Post-conviction relief. That means you have been done wrong and you're asking the court to fix it. I mean, you said that you were suspicious on day one when the state did not make him allocute as to what happened. Was he planning this all along? He's such a little perv. Maybe he was. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, he was in those girls' drawers, sniffing their panties, right, Nancy? That's what she said. That is what she said last time. He was in that house. I bet you he was in their panty drawers. I think, yeah, this is the problem. This is all going to come out now.
But you're right, Dave Mack. You know what? I asked you, Control Room, to show me the victims. Now you're showing me Bryan Kohberger without a shirt on. Did you not understand the first directive? Show me the victims. Thank you. Good gravy. You've got Xana. You've got Maddie. You've got Kelly, Ethan, the names I will never forget. And behind each name is a beautiful young University of Idaho student. And behind that student,
behind each name is money for my foundation that I am in control of with the Gonzalez.
Families devastated. And now it starts all over again. Will the court allow it? My guess is yes. But Dave Mack, you called it day one. They did not make him allocute.
No, he didn't have to say anything in court, Nancy. He didn't have to stand up before the judge, God, and everyone watching and say, I did it. Here's what I did. Here's why I did it. He didn't have to do any of that. And to say he was duped, he got away with killing 4 people. He ends up in prison for the rest of his life, but he dodges the needle or the bullet. And yet he never had to say anything other than, oh yeah, I did it. I thought it was.
Yeah, and it's surprising. Sorry, I have to stop and start. Copyright violation. I don't want to get struck by them. Check how bloodthirsty these people are. They actually want it. They want to see him in front of a firing squad. That's what they want. That's why Kaylee's parents are saying that they must get death row t-shirts. Jeez, they're horrible. People are horrible. Bianca, do you have that link? I'm going to look. Is it on News Nation?
It was gross the day it happened. You were livid. And now here we are. and he's actually pulling it exactly what we thought he was going to do. No,
You need to lay back down, Dave. You need to lay back down. Okay. Quote, my actual innocence is my truth. Those words actually came from Kohberger. My actual innocence is my truth. When somebody starts talking about telling his truth, what, as opposed to the other truth, my actual innocence is my truth. My plea was hinged only on, I want to read it exactly. My plea was hinged on false promises and blatant disinformation, and my plea must be withdrawn. Am I understanding this correctly, that he said all this to the New York Times?
He did.
That's where this is coming from?
He sent it to yep. The New York Times got it late last night and made sure, of course, that it was from him, and then came out with it publicly. But Nancy, going back on this a year later, when part of the deal was that he would not be able to come back later on and say he had been duped. He actually signed off saying, I won't do this. I can't do this. It's part of the deal. You know far better than anyone how the system works. The fact that we are having to discuss Bryan Kohberger and not the families or something good about what's taking place is just beyond the pale.
And this after the Gonsalves family has created a foundation in honor of the victims. And in that foundation, the Gonsalveses are raising money to have DNA testing done on cases that are just sitting there with no.
What did I tell you guys? This is all about money for their foundation. Wasn't wrong. All about it. Bianca, I'm going to play that one now. I did find it.
No movement, waiting until there can be money, time, and personnel to carry out the DNA tests. You're right. They have taken all that pain and are trying to turn it into something good. And now this, I want
to turn it into a profitable business, billion-dollar business.
to give you the name of the Gonsalves Foundation. It's called Murder Has a Name. Post-conviction relief typically revolves around newly discovered evidence. But in this case, Kohberger is insisting that he was hoodwinked and that he is absolutely innocent. Okay, I believe prayers can be answered. Please grant him his wish. Please allow this case to go to trial. So finally, once and for all, we know the truth of what happened.
But you knew the truth, Nancy.
Because Dave Mack, isn't it true that more and more evidence has leaked out after?
What does she mean when she says leaked out? It's not leaked, it's public information.
The plea, and one wave of evidence is more damning than the last.
You know, you're right, Nancy. A lot of information.
Actually, Bryan Koberger said the more evidence comes out, the more unanswered questions there are. Hi, itsy bitsy poop.
Has come out after the verdict, after he was sent away. The information that started coming out gave us details about the crime scene. You know, there was a lot that was left unsaid leading up to trial. And then when he flipped and took the plea deal, we didn't get to see it. But I don't know how, if it was really leaked or if it was, oops, I'm sorry, I hit the wrong button and made all this accessible. But we've now seen everything inside, well, up to a lot more than we knew before he pleaded guilty. But
they should have had all that information out in the open before they allowed him to take that plea.
Know about what took place in those rooms. We know to what degree each individual fought back, which it's a lot different than what we knew beforehand. So yeah, we know a lot more now after the plea. But you're right. If he wants to bring it all up and fight, oh my goodness, Nancy Grace. we will have to, the prosecution will have to get a new prosecutor because we actually have to have somebody with some stones that can get in there and do the job.
Look around. Where do you think you are? Do you think you're at pre-K? Do you think you're in the narthex at the United Methodist Church? We need a prosecutor with. That's what we need. I don't even know what you're talking about. The Idaho AG has waded into this. States that they are, quote, ready to do whatever is necessary to ensure justice. Well, number one, appoint an independent prosecutor and let's go to trial.
What about an independent?
We wait
defense
as justice
attorney?
unfolds. Be careful, Kohberger, what you ask for you will surely get it.
Oh, this woman is despicable. I should actually tag her in that. All right. All right. Let's go to the other video. Sorry, guys. Let me go to that. Nancy. I don't know. I just don't. I don't have time for that woman. This is everybody is going to see, because remember, these guys all found Bryan guilty long before he even entered a courtroom. So it's going to be pretty interesting. All right, let's look at the. Bianca, you'll just tell me if I'm playing the right video. Let me go to it quickly. All right, let's go there. All right, let's do this. Sorry, let me just add that video. All right, Bianca, tell me if I'm.
Things that were in the process.
Okay,
We did think it would be closer towards September, but we're not that surprised, to be honest.
Okay.
How are you now, Steve?
Let
It's
me
good
go
to
back to
see
right
you.
one.
I thought about you a lot today. I thought about you. I thought about Christy. I thought about Olivia today. I thought about all the families. I just want to start with your reaction. And did you know that this was coming in any way?
Little bit. We had a little bit of rumbling of
Taking
some
shots.
rumors, things that were in the process.
Thanks,
We did think it
Bianca.
would be closer towards September, but we're not that surprised, to be honest.
How are you guys doing?
We're strong, and this is more par for the course. We knew that this was going to happen. Some people were given false expectations that there would be no appeal because he waived that right. You can't waive your constitutional rights. And we had a lawyer, even though they tried to gag our lawyer. He was able to give us really good information throughout the whole process. So we'd have been expecting this from the very beginning. And if you've had a prosecutor who's gone through prosecutions of capital cases, this is to be expected.
I'm thinking about you guys. You finally able to turn the chapter, and you're now faced with this new potential.
But they haven't been able to turn the chapter because anytime there's an interview, they go on. I mean, these guys were at CrimeCon. They don't want to grieve privately. I think the only two families that are doing any kind of private grieving is Maddie and Xana's family. So, okay, let's watch this guy.
Legal battle that can carry on from hearing to hearing, and potentially, even though I think it's extremely unlikely in my legal opinion, but potentially a new trial. Are you prepared to go through all of this? How are you mentally prepared to go through that?
Yeah, some people want the second bite of the apple. I'd love to have the second shot at the accused
Really?
murderer. I would love for us to be able to reline him up and hold him accountable to the full extent of what he's done. We said at the very beginning that there's a right way to a plea deal, and then there's a rushed way to a plea deal. And we felt rushed, but I'll stand corrected. If this is over in 3 to 6 months, then I was wrong. If we're doing this time next year, then it would have been a lot more advantageous to Idaho to go in there and say, hey, Where's the murder weapon? What was the second weapon used? He could have clarified this, and he made it sound like that was an expectation that was ridiculous. And here we are, and I hope he's right. I hope we're done with this in 3 months. But I'm prepared for it to be longer.
So just to clarify, if they said, listen, he's going to be retried. We're not taking the death penalty off the table. We're going to go full steam ahead, death penalty trial. In a way, to me, it sounds like that's something that you might welcome. And also, I wonder, because you see the commentary online, despite Kohberger pleading guilty, there are those who believe he's still innocent. In a way, do you feel if this goes to an actual trial and he has an opportunity to fight the evidence, is that something that you'd say, you know what, I think it's necessary?
I would love it. We're getting to the point where capital cases, 9% of the time, are settled out of court. We do need case law. We do need state law. And Idaho I think it could benefit greatly from this. Unfortunately, we spent $8 million, and I feel for my community. This guy wasn't even a member of our society. He wasn't even a member of our state. And we've really just been totally put through the ringer having to defend this loser. So I want to protect my community, and I feel like, I can't keep asking for more. We got our chance. We had a weak prosecutor, but I don't want to put our community through another few $1 million. It's unfortunate, but somebody's going to have to put their foot down and make this case law.
Do you think he had a weak attorney? I mean, he's basically saying he had ineffective assistance of counsel, that there was evidence that...
Remember our last live that we did with Big Amish, and we'll bring Big Amish on again. I'm going to have a chat with him in a little bit and then see if he wants to do a live with us again. But all the experts that came out and contradicted one another was the perfect setting for them to say ineffective assistance of counsel. It's not that Ann Taylor was ineffective. Remember, she had that huge data dump put on her right before trial. So we discussed that on the last live, but let's see what he says here.
I would have loved to have actually Ann on our side. She would have blown the doors off Thompson. Thompson was weak. I mean, Thompson was caving left and right. If we didn't get Jeff Nye and Ingram, we would have been toast. So, yeah, I think his counsel was great. I didn't like her. I think she was always probing, always saying stuff like she would be ineffective counsel. She was always planting seeds. And I would have, a real prosecutor would have just went up to the bench and said, she says that again, rip her out of here and let's get a real prosecutor. Let's get a real defendant that actually wants to be in this room. If she's going to be ineffective, let's go get somebody who's going to be effective. And he just didn't have that.
Why do you think he's doing it? If you believe, and I'll give you my legal opinion. I don't think he's got a shot, but we'll talk about it a little bit. But why do you think he's doing it right now?
Are you truly unlocking the full power of Claude or just scratching the surface? Most people stop at spell.
Because he's an egomaniac psychopath. He literally some way made it paramount that they wouldn't say he was a psychopath, even though on his phone he'd repeatedly said psychopathic behavior, psychopathic paranoia. He started self-analyzing himself and thinking to himself, oh my gosh, I am a psychopath. But he got Ann to lay hard into that and said, hey, they're going to call me a psychopath. So she got Thompson to just fold. And he was like, we won't say the word, even though it's on his phone. So I think he didn't want to realize the kind of monster he was. And he started having that self-realization when it was too late.
Wow.
I can't help but think of the time. There's a Netflix documentary that's coming out in a couple of days.
I think it's
one of the things I've speculated is this
the documentary is coming out tomorrow, right?
A way for him to regain the narrative, to get control of it. Do you feel that had an effect?
100%. And he always has been the same portfolio, the same guy that's doing the same behavior. If you go look back at what he's done throughout his career, even in high school and
Serious, listen what he's going to do now. I haven't watched this, but I know exactly where he's going. He's going to bring up something that Bryan did 10 years before, which is really, in my opinion, just, yeah, this is like really tacky, Steve.
In college, he's always wanted to control the room. He's always wanted to dominate the people around him.
How do you know?
And that was part of the reason why we pushed back, because we'd studied this guy. I still think he has some tricks up his sleeve. He's got 40K out on his books. I've heard that he's going to use that to get some counsel of his own. He's negotiating, trying to get a book deal so he could pay for his own like lawyers. I mean, this guy's creative, and you know, he was working. He's got a master's degree, and he's working on a PhD. So he's not a moron, even though he writes like an idiot. You look at his writing, you think you're reading like elementary like homework, but he's actually supposed to, you know, be pretty intelligent. Homework. So I think he has a plan, and you know, Idaho's got to deal with it.
Steve, he's going to need proof. He's going to need actual evidence to establish anything that he's saying. But have you heard from the prosecutor's office? I mentioned before what the AG had said. Has there been any conversation from them? Have they reached out at all to tell you what their plan is, what the timeline's going to look like, anything like that?
No, I don't think they want to reach out to us, because we asked them to you know, get a little bit more information from him. There was a separate weapon, some other things that could have proven that this person beyond a reasonable doubt type thing. So we could have saved Idaho, you know, maybe possibly a year worth of fees. You know, I've always looked out for my community. I love the state in which I live in. And I expect more from people like Thompson, who's dedicated his career to this.
Before I let you go, one of the interesting arguments he makes is he was misrepresented about what prison life was going to be like, or what his, you know, what his options were going to look like, whether it was death row or life in prison. I just want your perspective on that, considering his life behind bars was a big topic in those impact statements.
Well, somebody who is going for a PhD in criminology, you would think that he would already have a pretty firm understanding of what that prison system is. And
I think he does.
You know, if he still wants to know what's waiting for him, he could always write me. I can tell him what some people tell me is waiting for him. It only gets worse, and he's actually got it pretty good right now. They're protecting him to the fullest extent of the law, but eventually he has to be treated like a normal prisoner. And those days are going to be pretty scary ahead.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our News Nation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased.
He's quite despicable, actually. I can't believe he actually went right on. Let's just check what he said there about that weapon. Hold on, I just want to go back there. Sorry, let me play it again.
His life behind bars was a big topic in those impact statements.
Well, somebody who is going for a PhD in criminology, you would think that he would already have a pretty firm understanding of what that prison system is. And, you know, if he still wants to know what's waiting for him, he could always write me. I can tell him what some people tell me is waiting for him. It only gets worse. And he's actually got it pretty good right now. They're protecting him to the fullest extent of the law. But eventually he has to be treated like a normal prisoner. And those days are going to be pretty scary ahead.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our News Nation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased.
Okay. If you have any other videos, anyone, just let me know. But it's quite interesting that he brings this up about what's going to happen to him. It's definitely a threat. I mean, he's so arrogant. I wonder if he wants to talk a little bit about his own brother that's in prison. And yeah, look, I don't want to go into that too much, but I mean, we all know that Steve's brother was put in prison for killing a man in a wheelchair, and that he had a problem with substances. And yeah, I just wonder if Steve has the same thoughts for his brother. I mean, and he does. He made threats. I mean, he did at CrimeCon. He made threats against Bryan. So yeah, it's just crazy. I mean, these people are losing their mind. If you think about it, Yeah, it's definitely not. You're right. It's not the. I don't know who's hiding comments here, but anyway, sorry, it's not me. It's not me. So Jane, yeah, I did see your comment. But yeah, look at that hat he's wearing, and him and his wife. Why don't they talk about their own family and things that have been going on in their own family? Why didn't he talk about his companies that actually technically only exist on paper? So yeah, this family is like really, really bad. And like I said in the beginning, they've already posted all over Facebook, and yeah, it's just been wild with that. I've got another one here. If you want, we can also watch that. I'm not going to make this one too long, but we will go tomorrow as well. Let's see. Do you guys want to watch this one with Banfield? Should be good. I can't wait until these people actually get to hear the truth once and for all. All right, let's do this. Sorry, guys, I'm sending it to my phone. Okay, let's do that. Okay, Banfield, Brewski, a whole lot of them. It's going to be pretty interesting. Okay, let's do this. Give me a second. Let's see here. Okay. Let's put it on. Okay, so we have that. Let's add it. Let's see what she has to say. It's going to obviously be a lot. Oh, good. Right, okay. Let's play this one. I see it. This is Ashley Banfield.
And the man convicted of killing them was sentenced to 4 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole, after acknowledging in open court to having stabbed the roommates and friends to death in their beds. But now, in a stunning new development, this man on your screen, 31-year-old Bryan Kohberger, apparently has buyer's remorse. He is now trying to claw back his guilty plea. He's blaming ineffective counsel. In a new handwritten court filing, Kohberger scrawling, quote, petitioner was convinced to falsely confess by coercion, disinformation, false promises, and the withholding of evidence, end quote. Specifically, Kohberger claims, and I'm going to use another one of his quotes, unknown hair found in Ethan Chapman's hands. Kohberger also seemed irate at his attorneys for, quote, misrepresenting what life in prison would be like.
Sorry, I thought this would be Ashley Banfield, but anyway, it's News Nation, so we still watch it. Yeah, they're going to talk about the hair. This is interesting. Let's go back a few seconds.
Unknown hair found in Ethan Chapman's hands. Kohberger also seemed irate at his attorneys for, quote, misrepresenting what life in prison would be like. He now says he'd rather risk the death penalty with a new trial than spend the rest of his life in prison. Here's the thing. Under Idaho law, he may have an opening. It's small, but in a lengthy statement to the New York Times, we're hearing directly from Kohberger for the first time. He wrote this: it is self-evident that justice was not served. The truth shall never be derived from the state's myopic narrative, a work of fiction. And that quote, circumnavigated by a broken plea, the trial never provided the public the clarity conducive to closure. Desperate ramblings from a killer with little else to lose? Or does Kohberger actually have a chance at a new hearing? Potentially even freedom? Let's bring in someone who knows this case inside out. Ashley Banfield, host of the Drop Dead Serious podcast and News Nation contributor. It's always good to see you, Ashley. Welcome back.
Hi, Hannah. Good to see you.
Always good to see you. Let's dive in. Why do you think that Kohberger is seeking to overturn his waiver of appeal and his plea deal? Do you think he simply wants another day in court? Does he want more attention? What's going on here?
2 words. He's bored. Life in prison is really awful. And when you're his age, you're facing about 70 years of this last 1 year that he's had. He didn't like his last year. He's been in solitary. It's boring. He's tired of it. He's got a massive ego and he wants to be relevant again and he wants to be heard. As far as whether he has a shot here, I would say a snowball's chance in hell.
How did she know
So you don't think that we could hear from Kohberger again after he publicly admitted his guilt in a court of law with his attorneys present?
Not only did he publicly admit his guilt, but the judge went a step further and said, are you pleading guilty because you are in fact guilty? Or are you pleading guilty because it's just paperwork and you know those pesky deals that people make? And he answered yes. So I say not a snowball's chance in hell, because this is a criminology student who was in a PhD program and who intelligently, according to the judge's own words, made this freely and voluntarily in court. What it comes down to is, and I know we're all a bit shocked, right? Because I heard last year at this time, and you heard last year at this time, that you're going to make this deal and you waive your right to appeal in the future. So what is this? What are you doing? It's narrow. You do have the right to appeal when you think your attorney may have screwed you. You know, the truth is Ann Taylor could not be a better attorney. She saved that man's life. She did everything. So Bryan Kohberger, show us the money. What evidence do you actually have? It's one thing to scratch your little waiver out on toilet paper in your cell and file it with the court. It's another thing to show us the money. And
what does she have against him? Did you see when she had that guy on when Kohberger was sentenced and she was literally drooling out of the sides of her mouth when they talked about what his life would be like in prison? This woman is despicable. She's really gross.
He thinks he doesn't have the money. I don't think there's clumps of hair in Ethan Chapin's hands, because this is the highest profile case Idaho has arguably ever had. And they would have seen that, and it would have been a big piece of Ann Taylor's case. And Ann Taylor doesn't want to lose a case, so she would have said, no plea deal. We've got great evidence that will prove your innocence. So all of it is bunk.
Do you think the motivation behind this to overturn his waiver of an appeal has any chance of succeeding, given that the Supreme Court has overturned appeal waivers in the past? And the case in which the court overturned the waiver was also an Idaho state case, of course, the same place where Kohberger's appeal will be heard.
You are right about the 2019 case, and it does make people a little bit nervous that the Idaho courts have said before, oh dear, remember that guy who pleaded guilty and waived his right to an appeal? We need to give him his second bite at the apple. They've done that before. Does that mean that Kohberger's going to get it? No. Apples and kumquats. Honestly.
Yeah, I do agree with that comment. Maybe she should talk about her association to Epstein. I mean, yeah, she's in those files. She wanted to date him. So look at that face. Wow. No, this woman.
You've got to have a robust argument for ineffective assistance of counsel. You can't just say, I was cheated. I didn't get it. You can't do that. You have to show us the money. And I don't believe for an instant that there's some magical discovery that was somehow suppressed from his view, as he asserts on his toilet paper claim, suggests he didn't do it. I think this is all just because he's terribly, terribly bored, and maybe buyer's remorse. Yeah, lots of it.
There's a book that's being talked about a lot. It's written by a defense expert called Broken Plea. It draws on material never seen in court. It helped Kohberger come up with this angle of an appeal, in your opinion, because he uses the phrase broken plea a lot in his latest comments.
Yeah, he thinks he's smarter than he is. Obviously, he's the dumbest criminal I've seen a lot of dumb criminals. He's among them. He left part of the murder weapon at the scene. Yeah. That's 101 crime. So idiot to start with. And number two, he thinks he knows more about the law than everybody else. And the truth is, ineffective assistance of counsel is not easy. If it were easy, everybody would come back and say, wait a minute, I didn't get it. None of that made any sense to me and I've been cheated. I need another go round. That doesn't happen. It's extremely difficult. And regardless of this fella's book, and I've seen his claims, once again, show us the evidence. Don't just talk about magical phantom sorcery.
Do you guys see how nervous these people are? They're so nervous. That's why she's talking so fast, because she knows that she's about to be exposed. She's a real chop. I bet she didn't even read that book, but see what she says here. She just, I want you to notice how nervous she is when she actually talks about this. These people are crapping themselves.
Show us the evidence. And I think that that's the point where the judge is going to say, summarily dismissed. I'm sorry. The evidence just isn't there. Now, does that mean he's going to get that little rat face back in a courtroom in Idaho? That's a good question. And I'm not sure of that. Every jurisdiction is a little different, Hannah, but I really hope not, because I think he wants a different kind of bologna sandwich. He wants a different cell, and he wants a free day out of the Idaho Max. He just wants to go on a field trip.
Can't be serious.
Because he's very bored, apparently, in court. Yeah.
Listen, can I just say something about that, Hannah?
Please.
But there's one thing, like, I know a lot of people are very upset about this, me included.
Yeah.
But I'm upset for a different reason. I'm only upset for what the Gonzalezes and the Chapins and all of the victims' family members and friends have gone through. I'm not upset about the process because I believe it's going to hold fast. But what I do sort of take sort of joy in is that it does prove he hates where he is. And for those of us who were upset that maybe he didn't get the death penalty, I'm not necessarily among them, but there were a lot of people very upset that he got the death penalty. Well, you should probably be thrilled to know that only 1 year into probably a 70-year sentence, he's miserable, absolutely miserable.
I see people here in the studio nodding around me. Ashley Banfield, it's always great to have you, my friend. I'll see you soon. Thank you again.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our News Nation app.
She's actually upset. What gets me with them is they pretend to care so much about this family. They don't. I mean, it's very evident. All these big mainstream media channels, you can always see with Nancy, with Ashley Banfield, with any of them, they kind of lower their voice when they talk about the victims. This is just very strange to me because they behave as if they personally know them, as if nobody else in the world. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful towards any of the victims. I never would be. I can't imagine something like that happening to my child or anything. But they've actually inserted themselves so much into this that they forget that Bryan also has a family. And let's not forget, they have taken repeated shots at his family. They've even actually blamed his family. So Ashley Banfield and Nancy has blamed Bryan's mother of having knowledge of this crime. So I wonder how that's going to go down. But these people are vile, and you can see they are starting to panic because when the truth, I'm not going to say if, but when the truth comes out, then, well, they could get sued as well because they've made a lot of false statements against not only Bryan, but his family. If you guys remember, I mean, let's call it what it is. It's basically a public humiliation ritual. They found him guilty before he even set foot in any courtroom. Oh, Jane, you also in Australia, right? Yeah, she is wrong. So sorry, I'm reading your guys' comments. I mean, Ashley Banfield is the reason people put instructions on a shampoo bottle. Anyway, I'm glad that he is going to go a little bit further with this, that he says that he believes in his innocence. And there was something else that he said that I found interesting. He said that he's aware of people outside supporting him. And so I don't know if his family's been watching different channels. Obviously not mine. Mine's a little small. There are a lot bigger channels that they've been watching. But I mean, he said actually, also, I didn't read it in the article, but he said, thank you to everyone that believed in his innocence and continue to analyze this case. So he is very aware that people are doing that. And he said something also that he sends his love to his family who have never wavered in their belief in who I am or their belief in my innocence. So, hi, Glenn, how are you? Oh, Jane, sorry, you're in England. Well, this was the whole thing, and Glenn made this comment as well. I mean, she went on and on and on at sentencing, calling Bryan a pedo, basically, branding him before he even went to prison. Why do you think she did that? And so, I mean, yeah, Christy, I do. I think Bryan must be aware. His family's probably watching. I always wondered about that because I wasn't sure, they haven't said anything except his sister. And look what they did to her. They literally ripped her to pieces when she gave an interview. And even though she was kind, she was compassionate, she said that they do feel for the victims. Because nobody's actually saying that someone doesn't feel for those 4 students. But the minute she opened her mouth, they ripped into her. And they twisted her words. So, yeah, I would love to see somebody sue Olivia because the things that she said, do you guys think he will? Hi, Linda, how are you? It's just me today. I think tomorrow maybe Big Amish will join me. I'm not sure. I just thought I'll do a quick live today because when I heard this news, I was so happy. I mean, we kind of knew that this was going to happen. And it's going to become really, really interesting now. And I don't make a lot of videos on this case. I've been working on my other channel quite a bit. But now that this has happened, I'm back over here. So it is true, yes. They wanted to hurt Bryan. And that's why I always call it a public humiliation ritual. Remember, I've always believed that Bryan was their patsy. They knew about him long before these murders even happened. So I don't think I put a video out about that. Oh, hi, pretty much Finland. Occasion Finland. So yes, he was the perfect patsy for the sympathy ritual murder because that is exactly what this was. It was a ritual murder run by the cult that is in charge of Idaho. That's just my opinion. So yeah, it was. So let me just go back now, as I didn't prepare. I'll just do a quick thing and then we can always come back tomorrow to this. But let me see. So let's go over this for a second. I did make some notes here, but all right. So Just a few things. Obviously, this is not going to be a very long live. Sorry, sorry. Okay, I can't talk, guys. I'm a little bit sick today, and I need to keep my eye on the chat as well. But yes, Harry Potter's beard. The families do. They keep saying sacrifice, and it's because they know. If you guys ever wondered about this, you know, the media has replayed the same story again and again and again, that there's some completely deranged outsider that walked into their little town and ended the lives of these 4 students, right? And the story has always been that this happened at night and that these victims were asleep. In fact, on the Gonzalez page, they still say to this day, they'll say, this happened while those 4 students were asleep. And we know now that there is absolutely no way that they were sleeping. So that is the story that people were told in the beginning. Until today, if you challenge anybody online, they're going to say, well, they were asleep. And I think because the public has heard that version of events so many times, most people can't even see that they have been watching a ritual happening or playing out right in front of them this entire time. So I'll just touch on it a little bit, because I think when people hear the word ritual, they picture something like, you know, people with robes, candles, pentagrams, and all these little secret ceremonies. But when you talk about any kind of ritual murder, it doesn't look like that. You'll find psychological and symbolic elements in it. And it's actually designed to create an emotional impact that is far beyond the crime. Now, when you have a public, and I think the Gonzalez family plays on this, because you have a large part of the public that is so consumed by fear. And I mean, like I said, it's been 4 years of nonstop media. Banfield, Nancy Grace, Annie Elise. I can't wait to see what she says, because she was one of the first ones that did this. So what happens is people can't reconcile the possibility that they are looking at a ritual that is right in front of their eyes. It's so simple to see this. And let me look at the comments before I go on. Okay, sorry if I miss your comments, but they do know more. Now, and what I want to say is the purpose of any kind of ritual is to install a long-term trigger into somebody's nervous system. So if you have an event like this, the brain attaches some kind of meaning to the details surrounding that moment. And this happens all the time. I mean, when you look at the public, they listen to this and they experience it as if they are part of what happened. Because, you know, when you look at any human being, our brain kind of mirrors what it sees, what we see. So you don't even have to be a direct target of any event to be conditioned by the event itself. So this is why the media keep repeating the same story, that they were sleeping, because they know that groups of people are suffering this tragedy at the same time, and that they share this emotional experience. If you've looked at it, it actually becomes part of their identity. Yeah, that is true. And Taylor did ask how they got to Bryan's name. And I hope that is something that is going to come out. Now, let me just go on a little bit quickly. So when you have a whole group of people that are watching this thing on screen, the murder of these 4 students, it's almost burnt like a permanent memory into their mind, and it feels very real to them. So they don't stop and say, you know what, what if what we are being told is not real? They don't say that at all. Jane, you're right. He was chosen. I think I'm going to do a separate live because that is a whole interesting topic all on its own. So when you look at a sympathy ritual murder, what will happen is it ties into the victims. I'm not going to do it today because it's quite a long one. So anybody who wants me to do that, then just let me know and I will do a live with that and probably the same time as today. But when you look at sympathy ritual murder, you're talking about a group of people who are basically worshipping demons and deities. Oh, hi, Scully. How are you? You want to do it with me? They worship deities. Look at the fraternities, the deities that they worship, right? It's very, very satanic. And so these people actually believe that these deities are going to make the town prosper. And this has been something that's been around since ancient times. I mean, a ritual operates through this mechanism. It takes any kind of experience, it attaches a meaning to it, and it embeds that meaning into any individual and the group. So this is why when you talk about a ritual, it's always been one of the most effective ways for any kind of society to govern itself. Hey, Lucy, how are you? Okay. And so, yeah, I can go into that, but just to go back a little bit, they knew that this was going to happen. This is just my opinion, so don't hold me to it. I'm just saying it's my opinion. I'm not saying it's real. I'm not stating it as fact. My opinion is it was a ritual. They knew that this would happen. People that were around, I'm not going to mention names, but you can guess what I'm talking about. They knew this was going to happen. There is a specific way that they chose these 4 victims. There's a reason they chose them. And there's a reason that they left behind 2 survivors. And there's also a reason that they chose Bryan Kohberger. If you think about it, I'll get into that in that video. I'll definitely do it. He was the perfect patsy. So, yeah, we can definitely go into that for sure. You're in safe territory, Harry. Wherever Lucy and Scully are, you good, and everybody else in the chat. So thank you guys for watching. Appreciate all of you. I don't really consider myself a content creator, by the way. I just started talking about this case because it bugged me. Oh yes, Linda, we did speak about this. So this is ritual. These guys that run that town, and I'll just say it again, my opinion, they are all part of the same cult. So are the experts that have come out, so-called. Look at how they chop and change their story. Scully, you know he didn't. Do you think he did? Okay, Jane, yes, I will definitely do that. I think, well, I'm going to speak to Big Amish. I don't know if Scully wants to come with us when we do our live. But, you know, a lot of people have said to me that they think Dylan is guilty or Bethany, but think about it. I mean, this wouldn't be possible for one of them to commit a crime and cover it up. And then what about when it goes to law enforcement and through the legal system? It's not even possible. But, hi, Richard. So I don't believe that they could have or attempted to do this by themselves. But my opinion is they must have known. They would have known something was going on. Let's see what thing. Yes, so Queen 1122, King Road, the Jacks. It starts to get very interesting. A lot of signs, signals, symbols. I think I saw something on True Crime Design's channel with the bracelets of Sana that was found there by the White's apartments. And all that fluid on the wall. So my theory is that this did never happen at the house, not at all. So, okay. No, Scully, I know he is. No, we just joke around here as well. So he is, and you heard what Ashley Banfield said. He just wants a day out from his boring life. Wasn't she the one who also said something about Bryan's bananas? So yeah, these people, they know. And so I think, let me put this whole ritual together, and probably by the end of the week, we can do that. If I haven't said hi to anybody, hi, yes, but sorry, give me a second. Sorry, guys, I've got flu, so I'm sneezing and coughing, and my voice is pretty much gone. Yeah, you are right, Linda. I would say this was planned, if my calculation is right, probably in 2020, maybe even before that. And they knew because it takes time to select victims. But I don't want to get into that too much now, because once you start seeing how this all ties together, then you're going to see. And when I use the word sympathy ritual murder, it means not sympathy for the victims really, but sympathy for the town, because that is exactly what it is. So have any of you heard about a sympathy ritual murder? Okay, give me a second. All right, let me try and give you an example of it. So when you have a small town, like here in South Africa, they will call them muti killings, okay? And what happens is, let's talk about it like how it would happen in a small town, right? So give me a second. Let me mute you quickly. Give me one. Sorry. Okay, sorry guys. My microphone. Sorry about that. Oh, hi Amy. How are you? Okay, we're gonna bring Scully on when I talk about the rituals. Scully, if you want, you can, but it won't be today. All right. So I started talking about it in South Africa. It's known as the Muti murder. Okay, but in small towns all over the world, when you talk about a staged ritual murder, it's like a smokescreen that criminals use, and they use it to hide a big crisis. So this could be anything that is going on in the town. So let's say victims are found and they found mutilated. It's often found with, like, so you'll see these victims are found with some kind of occult symbol, or they'll be missing some kind of organ or body part. And what happens when this happens is it triggers instant panic in the community. And it's always followed by media sensationalism. So if you look at what criminologists and forensic investigators find, that is that there are always local syndicates, and people that are involved in this are often very corrupt officials, and it could be law enforcement, it could be people living in the town. So it could be people working in the court system. Everybody, hi Lee, how are you? So these are usually done, like, so all over the world. It could be a small scandal that's happening in the town, if we're talking about that, but I'm just going to talk in general now. So all over the world, whenever you see a sympathy ritual murder, so as I've mentioned, in South Africa, it would be like a muti killing where they use almost like a witchcraft sacrifice. It's actually a front for highly organized, illegal, could be organ harvesting or human trafficking. And so by mutilating any victim, the local syndicates trick the community to blame, like in this country, maybe a traditional healer, or in this case, a taxi. But what it does is it masks the presence of a huge network. Now, this network can be organ trafficking, human sacrifice. It's normally something very, very big. And now if you look at places like Idaho, which is also what I'm talking about, a small town, they're often dominated by one major industry, and it's normally something like mining or agriculture. So if you have a group of local politicians or leaders, and they are threatening to expose, maybe it could be like massive embezzlement or land theft, then these people have to be eliminated. Does it make sense at all? They also use it sometimes to mask cartels. We see this happening all over the world. So it's not confined to one specific country. And this is why I'm saying I think Bryan Kohberger knows quite a lot more than what people give him credit for. So I don't know if anybody agrees with this, that they were hiding something much larger. But I know that sympathy ritual murder has definitely happened in this country as well. So it is definitely something. Oh, sorry, I'm trying to read the comments and I'm half blind as well. Sorry. Okay, so we'll definitely talk about that. I'll put that on the shelf, and then I think we should take a vote before I go. Who wants to do me to do a live with Big Amish? If you do, then we can bring him back on as well, for sure. Scully, I think we are. We're not really shocked. Yes, and Scully, do you want to join? Do you want to anybody can join. I'm not fussy about that. Yeah, Linda, that is true. They there's a lot of that going on, human trafficking, and you're right. Somebody made a comment long ago. It was on a video I did, something also that I brought it up now. It was something to do with mining. I should just go back and see, but that was, oh wow, that was last year sometime that somebody brought it up. So it's interesting that you bring up the land. Oh, that's oh, thank you, Jan. Yes, we'll do one together. Scotty, do you want to come up for a bit? We can bring him up as long as he promises not to fall asleep on us. Do you want to come up, Scully? I want to hear what you have to say. Thank you. And yes, congrats. I'm so glad. I saw your channel's growing really nice. So that's good. Yeah, that's really, really good. Lee, you can also come up if you want. Anybody who wants to say, I'm like, yeah, but I think this is it. This is huge. You know, I actually saw this come up on the news just before I was going to go to sleep last night, and I must have dreamed about it. And I was, yay, nothing has made me so excited in a long time. I actually can't wait to see what, let me see if Scully messaged me. Hold on. I've got that phone on mute, Scully. Did you message me? Let's check. I was so happy. Can't wait until he talks. Scully, I messaged you. Whether he gets it, I don't know. Oh, okay. Well, Dee, you can come next time. I did watch a bit of yours as well, Scully. I had to watch on mute because I was busy working. So I normally go back and I re-listen. No problem, Lee. You can come up anytime you want. Okay, so Scully, I don't know if he's coming on now. Let's give him a minute and see if he's going to. "12 hours. You guys are 12 hours is long. All right, so yeah. What was I saying? Yeah. So I was saying, okay, well, we'll go back to the ritual aspects of this and in a different video. But oh, hi, Big Amish. I'm almost about to end, and then we'll have a chat in a little bit. Everybody wants me to cover the ritual aspect of this. I was actually just talking about you and said, who wants me and Big Amish to cover this? We can always, I don't know. We promise we won't go 12 hours. Me and Big Amish will just keep it a little bit shorter. But if he's up for it, then I am definitely for sure. Lucy, yes, that's a good point. So this is going to enrage the Gonzalez family with their WSU lawsuits. So this is something that I think is going to be very, very interesting. Are you going, Scully? We'll see you tomorrow if you're around, for sure. Okay, let's see if we can find something else. Bianca, do you know of another one? Let me just check here quickly. Let's have a look, because I think it wasn't only Banfield. I think there was somebody else that also spoke on it besides Nancy and Banfield. Let's have a look. Love you too, Scully. All right, let's see if we can find it. All right, there is another one. Let's see what this guy says. Oh, wow. Okay, let's see. Let's see what this guy has to say. I'm going to just... We didn't play this. Okay, I'll play a little bit of this one. All right. Okay, before we end, I'll just play a little bit of this one. Sorry to keep you waiting, Big Amish. Okay. Okay. Play a little bit of this. I won't play the whole video. Okay. If you guys can see it. Wow, here we go. Let's see your comments to this.
Who has subscribed. I'm actually in the desert right now. I'm in Arizona. I was out here. It's really hot, by the way. It's like 110 degrees. It's insanely hot. And I was out here working on a Nancy Guthrie story. So I have his handwritten letter that he wrote. Yeah,
it's going to be interesting. Okay, can everyone see that? This guy's always running around all over the place. So weird. Okay, let's go there. Let's see what he... You know what's funny with this dude? He's always running through an airport or sitting on a bed with everything spread out. Like he works 24 hours a day, and it's so wild. Okay, let's play him a bit.
Affidavit that he's filing to try and get this whole thing started. I'm talking to Steve Gonzalez, victim Kaylee Gonzalez's dad, about what he thinks about all of this and how he's processing it. And I am talking to a attorney in Idaho, which is important because you have to understand the law in Idaho to know how this is going to move forward. If it's possible, there's a Supreme Court case that comes into play. And I'm going to kind of cover all factors here in this episode of Bryan Enton Investigates. I'm going to get in the car because it's so hot.
Come, let's rest here a while.
All right, hey guys, so I found some shade. I actually didn't get in the car, but I found like a little shady area, but it's, again, just like super, super hot. I knew that, so like there's a group of reporters that I'm friends with that we've all covered the Bryan Kohberger case together. And we were texting the last couple of weeks thinking that the possibility of an appeal could be coming, or Kohberger trying to get an appeal, because there's a deadline. And I think it's like in September, like he had to file something by then or he would lose his chance. So it's kind of something that I was keeping an eye on, but I wasn't really sure he would do it. And this is the reason why. I kind of thought with him, he would have nothing to lose. Like, why not? He's stuck in jail for the rest of his life, in prison for the rest of his life. He might as well try. The worst thing that happens is he gets a new trial and he gets the death penalty, and then he sits on death row for decades. So like, I wasn't really putting it past him. And also there's been all these books and the Broken Plea book and all these, articles and podcasts and stuff that he's probably seen kind of like revving him up to do it. But the reason I thought maybe he wouldn't do it, and now we know he is, but the reason I thought maybe he wouldn't is I thought maybe he wouldn't want to do it to his family. I was at like almost every hearing, and his parents were at several of them, and they were crying. And I know he was close to his mom. And that was one reason I thought maybe he wasn't going to do it, just to like kind of spare them the agony of going through all of that, bringing the whole case and them and the family back into the limelight. But in his statement, he says that apparently they stand by him in all of this. So maybe they're happy he's doing this. I don't know. But I'm going to go through everything with you, everything new that's happened with Bryan Kohberger now saying that he is not guilty, despite the fact that he pled guilty and admitted to killing the Idaho 4. I'm going to get to Steve Gonzalez's interview in a second. First, let me read you, though. So Mike Baker is the reporter with the New York Times who broke the story. He's a very, very good reporter. And you're going to hear, actually, I got some information out of Steve, because Mike Baker, I talked to Steve. Apparently, Mike received a collect call from Bryan Kohberger, and that's how all of this started in terms of this getting reported out, which is kind of interesting. But this is the statement that Bryan Kohberger gave to the New York Times, to Mike Baker. Over a year later, it is self-evident that in State versus Kohberger, justice was not served. Unanswered questions seem to multiply with each piece of discovery unsealed, and the public demands the truth. Unfortunately, the truth shall never be derived from the state's myopic narrative, a work of fiction which has yet to evolve since the PCA was released nearly 4 years ago, and its faulty premises were never challenged at trial. Circumnavigated by a broken plea, and it's interesting he says broken plea, considering that's the book that came out. But circumnavigated by a broken plea, the trial never provided the public the clarity conducive to closure, and justice shall remain objectively miscarried unless the plea is withdrawn. I hereby declare my intention to enter a not guilty plea and welcome the state the opportunity to prove their case at trial, as well as to again file for the death penalty.
I like that name, Brian's Brown Bananas. I love it. Okay, let's go to this. Okay, yes, Big Amish. As soon as I finish here, I'll give you a call. Then Big Amish and I can either do tomorrow or Thursday, one of them. We'll chat after this for sure, because he's got a really good video. So I want him to explain everything to you guys. This guy, let's just go on a little bit. I just want to see when he's going to interview. Let's have a look at the letter here. Because magically, this guy's got everything. Check his makeup as well. Eh? Wow. Okay.
He's claiming that his lawyer did a bad job, Ann Taylor, which, by the way, anybody who followed the case, most people I know, including myself, Ann Taylor did a pretty good job. And even the victims' families would admit that at times. Man, she's really slick. So the fact that he's now turning on her is interesting. But he wrote this affidavit all himself. So according to the affidavit of facts in support of post-conviction petition, Kohberger wrote he was, quote, convinced to falsely confess to capital murder. Says there, so convinced to falsely confess to capital murder, and basically said that him and his family had these meetings with the defense counsel, and that he was convinced that this was legally the right thing to do, even though he says he's not guilty. He says there was withholding of exculpatory discovery, and he's talking about, he says, clumps of unknown hair found in Ethan Chapin's hands. So in the autopsy photos, you can see that there's some hair in Ethan Chapin's hand. Not in the autopsy, but in the crime scene photos. I don't know that I would call it a clump, and the defense did know about that hair.
This is exactly what we're going to discuss, Big Amish, right? This is exactly what you predicted was going to happen. So, yeah, that's going to be very interesting. I really want to go over Big Amish's video. Like spot on, you predicted this. Anybody, can we send him a mail and ask him to give us a makeup tutorial? I want one. So like perfectly polished.
Because I went back and looked in the filings and they knew about it. And that hair was tested and it did not come back to Bryan Kohberger's DNA, but it was never tested more to figure out whose hair it was. But keep in mind, his DNA was on the knife sheath. The cell phone tracking tracked him to the house. I mean,
oh yeah, we're going to hear the same boring story again.
There was plenty of evidence there.
There was nothing.
Which I've gone through a million times. It says petitioner was convinced that actual guilt was not an important factor in considering plea acceptance. Death row was imminent and advised to lie. Petitioner was to gain a legal victory in entering a false plea. And he basically says that death row was described to him as this awful place and that he was convinced that he should avoid death row, plead guilty, avoid the death penalty, even though he now says.
How interesting is this?
That he was innocent, even though he now says that he's innocent. But again, I mean, I was there and this thing was drawn out, you guys know, for years. He could have had a trial. It was set to go to trial. I was shocked when there was the plea deal. And he pled guilty. He sat in that courtroom and he pled guilty. And he was even asked, is your lawyer competent? Are you happy with your lawyer? He still pled guilty. I just want to replay that for you again, just so we can all relive that moment.
About a year ago.
Are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Yes.
Okay, so that was from the guilty plea. What's going to happen now? That's the big question. So there is a process here. We have a system and we live in America. So a judge is this is going to go before a judge, and a judge is going to have to decide.
Check there, Linda. He has. Check those eyebrows. Bushy. Jeez, my husband fits the suspect profile better than Bryan Kohberger does. I actually made him go and thread his eyebrows after 2022.
How this proceeds. Is there going to be a hearing? I kind of think there likely will be a hearing, and maybe it will end there. Because remember, he agreed not to appeal. So there'll likely be a hearing, I think. But does it go any farther than that? Will he be assigned another public defender to sort of handle this appeal process? I spoke with Edwina Elcox, and she's an attorney in Idaho that I have gone to several times since all of this started, because you have to look for stuff like this. There's an Idaho Supreme Court case that comes into play with about whether he can appeal. You have to go to people in the state to get it, because they're the ones who understand the state law. Just getting some attorney from another state doesn't really work in a situation like this. So I want Edwina, by the way, and all of the lawyers I've talked to are not convinced that this is actually going to work, that he's going to get an appeal. But I want to play for you for what she said to me.
One of my favorites and the first Fusion Labs product that I started to use was the Trichotin Hair Regenesis.
Hey, Edwina, thank you for taking the time.
Let's leave that. We'll cover that with Big Amish's one. I want to go where he's going to talk to Steve. Let's see what they say. Big Amish just, ignore Scully. I like that with the toupee. Wait, let me look here. Done pretty well though, guys, eh? Jeez, it doesn't even come off in that wind. Good. All right. Let's see, because now Steve's gonna come back on. They haven't banned me from commenting on their page yet, so I'm good. All right, let's see this. So yeah. All right, this what's this part?
They also wanted, if there was going to be a plea, they wanted him to have to confess, so that, and talk about why he did it, how he did it, so that they could avoid something like this. But the prosecution didn't require that in the plea deal, and I remember them bringing that up many times. But anyway, I spoke with Steve a little while ago after this news came out, just to get his take, and he's got an interesting, obviously, perspective on all this. But he also shares some interesting information about how he found out that this was happening. Listen to what Steve said.
Hey, Steve. It's nice to see you as always.
I guess I first wanted to ask you just like how you and Christy are doing, and Olivia, and I know you were at work today. I was just talking to the people I'm with, and like you forget that like Steve has to work during the day, and he finds out these things like he's got a job like everybody else. You know what I mean? Like you guys are trying to go on.
Poor guy's got to work in the day, hey? We don't.
With your lives, and then something like this happens. Like, how are you guys doing?
Yeah, I learned.
So this is now the second interview that Steve is on, because he was first with News Nation. Yo, these people, they wuss, eh? Jeez. Okay, if you don't know what wuss is in South Africa, it means you wild. Oh, wild.
Quite early. I think I probably knew what was going on. At least the author gave me a heads up, which I really appreciated, and that gave me some time to just let the kids know, let the wife know, hey, this is what's happening, and talk to Shannon. Let's figure out the best approach to how this works. And so yeah, that's how our day started, and we just we've kind of learned to just roll with it, and there's only so much you can do, and hopefully you can lean on the people that you trust and love, and get through it.
When you said you spoke to the author, was that of the book, The Broken Plea book?
No, that was Baker who wrote.
Oh, I see. The New York Times, the reporter. So he gave you a heads up before.
Yep, he did, and that's what I was saying. I really appreciated that, because it's just better to know what you're about to face than to just get blasted with there's so many ways to communicate with people now. So you're getting instant messages, and you're getting Facebook alerts, and you're getting media alert. It just gets overwhelming. So you kind of just get yourself, all right, this is what my day is going to look like, and I'm ready to deal with it.
Did you suspect it at all? Because I had heard maybe like 2 weeks ago, I started to hear like, oh, there is this deadline and he could possibly file something. Like, did you hear any of those rumblings? Did you have any like sort of feeling this might be coming?
Yeah, we had heard little rumors about this, and I mean, I'll be honest, they were saying it was going to be a little bit longer, possibly in September.
Check these oaks pretend like they're dumb, hey?
But they told me nothing to really worry about. It's not something that it's preventable. You can't prevent it at all. So, just it's coming down the pipe, and get your family in order.
Are you worried about it at all?
No, well, yeah, at first I was a little bit worried because
big Amish. That's true, right? He should have known this, because this is what we're going to discuss. How is this going to affect this WSU lawsuit? And he did know. He knew a lot. Oh, yeah, Lucy. Look how he changed. He had that hex cap on. Now he's wearing that. I think Steve G needs to go to confession this week.
There's a lot of angles at which you can attack, the truth. There's a lot of ways you can go in and say, hey, now that I've seen every bit of evidence, can I poke a little hole through there? Can I find a little place where they didn't have me covered? So I was worried that he would have something really good and juicy in there. And so when he writes like he's in third grade. So when you can finally piecemeal what he's saying, and got to write it out, and like it's like he needs a translator. But once you figure out what he's saying, there was nothing there. I mean, it was really, really a relief to know that he didn't have something that was
interesting choice of words that he says, a relief.
Big, because when you've done the crime, you would know how to find where there's little mistakes, where they've got things wrong, because you were there. So you could poke at those things. And I was just nervous about that.
Yeah, I wonder if after a year in prison there, he's in solitary, or I don't know, he might still be, if this is just like a boredom, like, why not? Like, what do I have to lose at this point? The only thing that I was hesitating, thinking maybe he wouldn't do it, was if he cared about his parents in that way. you're putting your whole family through this again. But then I was thinking, his parents have never come out and acknowledged his guilt, really.
No.
And even the sister who did the interview, said that her heart went out to you and to the victims, but she never said, I can't believe my brother did this.
No, I was a little surprised that he kind of brought them into that.
It's like they wanted the sister. This is what we spoke about earlier with the sister doing that interview for the New York Times, right? So what does he want the sister to say? Yeah, Big Amish, definitely. Me too as well. It's very, very bad how they mock this family. Brian's family, not this family. This family, the Gonsalves family, is a bunch of bullies.
Paper that he wrote up, the post-conviction relief, he wrote that they were witnesses. So that is something that I'll have to dig into a little bit, to figure out, like, I did ask a little bit, like, is it normal for, a mass murderer to have his family surrounded by him when he's getting a plea deal? That seems very odd. But and I was told that is odd, but maybe, so we're gonna figure out what was going on there. But long story short, they're like, it's nothing that can be prevented, and there's not much to be worried about unless he has some type of angle that he's been working on for 3 or 4 years, and that's what he's dropping, and that's mainly what we were concerned with.
You wanted a trial all along.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the things you wanted, it's kind of like people thought you were a little nutty in the moment, and then we kind of keep seeing these things happen where it's like, even you immediately pushed for a confession. You said, if you're going to give him the plea, at least give us that, where he has to verbally confess. I mean, are you kind of looking back thinking, like, I wish they would have done some of these things?
I feel aces. I feel like my legal counsel was right on, told me exactly what to expect and what we could do. We knew that he has like this cult-like following of people. So the only way to, pull a cult out of something like that is with hard facts that they can't compose and twist and turn into something else. So if you would have admitted about the second weapon or something along those, where experts could opine on that and say, hey, that fits these details that we've never released, that would have been great. But, Thompson basically said he's the big boy and he had no worries. And I think his official statement was, we don't need it. And he would just probably lie to us if he did. So what that means to me is this will be over, in 6 months. We won't be dealing with this for years.
That's what they hope. Why do they keep saying that he would have lied? Does anybody find that strange? He would have lied. That's the same thing they said when they said they didn't want him to allocute. No, we don't want him to allocute because he would just lie.
And if we are, then somebody probably should have went back and did his homework and made sure that he got a confession, because, he said it wasn't needed. So I'm going to hold him to that.
Yeah, all the lawyers that I've spoken to today seem to think this is kind of like he gets the right to a hearing. This will kind of be a moment, and then it's kind of a closed case after that.
Yeah, it's part of a process that was probably established in case law, 10 years ago, and now everyone uses that as the script to go through it. So I'm frustrated for Idaho that we've wasted so much money on a guy who was never even a member of our state. We've really been stuck with a huge, heavy burden of $8 million, and we get to let this loser go back at us, and it's a bummer. And I really feel for my fellow Idahoans and what we have to go through, but
my fellow cult members.
I really appreciate that they've always been there for us, and I'll stick with it. We'll fight as hard as we can, but I think this is just a little process here, and it's not going to turn up. And I'm hoping that we don't go waste a bunch more money on a case that's already been solved.
Did you talk to Bill Thompson, or did they call you? Did they know this was coming?
I got the sense that that call was a collect call, very recent, and no, they didn't know. So that's not word. That's just how it was described to me. Individual called. It was like a collect call from prison, picked it up, and bam. Now, he said he did have a little backstory with this, with working with the sister. So maybe there's a little bit of trust established there, but that's how it was described to me. So I would think that.
Oh, you're talking about the call with Mike Baker.
Mike Baker, yeah,
He
that's
got
how
a
he described
collect call from Kohberger.
it. Mm-hmm. And
Okay.
he was pretty shocked, and he just told him, "This is what I'm doing. This is my plan." So that's why I'm reading into it. That I wouldn't be surprised if this was new to him as well, to Thompson as well.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, so yeah, it's not like Bill Thompson saw that. But has he called you since? Have they called the families today to sort of be like, "Hey, don't worry," or "This is what we're going to do"?
We did get an email from, I believe, Lautau County Court that basically just said this is the process that happens. Nothing to be concerned. We're not saying anything that was dropped in that write-up that concerns us.
If there, I mean, it sounds like there will probably be a hearing regardless. Would you guys go to the hearing, do you think? Or I guess it's still a ways out.
Good question. You know what? Probably just for the fact of honoring my community, honoring the process and everything that we've gone to, I'd probably show up just to be thankful for everything that's happened. And like I said, $8 million, that should be respected, how hard that the state fights for life. We put our foot down, and we've tried to make sure that this doesn't become a new normal here. And that means I probably need to show up at the court case, regardless if it's a petty thing or not.
How's everything going with the foundation?
You see, here they're going to talk about this foundation. This is the biggest problem they have, is how this is going to affect their foundation. Big Army, he said $8 million or something. I can have a check.
Things are going really well. We've got to the point where we've gotten all the paperwork done, the 501(c)(3)s and all that stuff is done. So now we have to really like hone down on finding the right case where we find a family that is got like a prosecutor or an investigator who's willing to reach out and talk to us and say, "Hey, all right, how do I use this money to find a lab? Here's my lab. Do you guys have a connection?" So yeah, we're going through that. It's been very healthy for the girls to have something positive to work towards, to not just say that something good is going to happen out of something bad, but actually be making good happen. So yeah, it's been really good. It's actually been a nice relief. It's probably been more therapeutic than talking on the couch.
Yeah, right. Yeah, like you said, you're doing something. I'll put a link below to the foundation so people can check it out. Is there anything else, Steve? I mean, are Christy and Olivia? You're always kind of the strong guy, but like, are they okay with everything that happened today? I mean,
I think it was a little out of left field for some of the girls, just like, here we go again type stuff. Like the phones were really pretty hot today with a lot of communication. So, and they've been so focused on working on the nonprofit that
I like the way he calls it a nonprofit.
it was maybe a little bit rough, but they're fighters, and Olivia's as smart as a whip. I was just on the phone with her 20 minutes before we talked. So yeah, she's sending me new docs. It's just like, it's that game again. Like all of a sudden you feel like you're behind the 8 ball. There's information out there and you need to like get well informed, and you're not sure where all this stuff is at. And you don't really have a leader to be like, here you go, let me get you everything. You guys shouldn't have to go chasing through paywalls to figure out what happened to your child.
Right. Yeah, no, I get it. Well, I appreciate you, Steve. I'm sorry we have to keep having these conversations, but we'll see how this plays out soon.
Hey, I appreciate you and your audience, and that people care. And I think this is the best way you can become a true crimer, is when you follow the right people, that's heart's in the right places, and they're trying to work in a constructive manner to help society get better. And that's why we've always been, one of the people that we've talked to.
I appreciate that.
Thank
All
you.
right, I'll talk to you later.
Have a good one.
All right, bye. As always, I appreciate Steve for taking the time. Look, these families, like when I reached out to Steve to do the interview, he was at work. I mean, he works, like, you know, he's in IT. You forget that these are real people, and it's like he's at work and then he gets word that all this is going down with Kohberger. And yeah, they're just trying to move on with their lives. And you can't really move on, and they've started their foundation and they talk about Kaylee every day. It's not like they're trying to move on to forget about Kaylee, but they're trying to move on from Kohberger. And this is obviously very, very painful. They have an attorney, Shannon Gray, like a victim's rights attorney.
It's so painful, but you have him on for an interview. Is this not weird? It's so painful, but I'm going to bring him on for an interview anyway. That seems really strange. I mean, they don't have to keep talking about it. Oh, big Amish, yeah. You're right. Let's ask Erica. She knows about nonprofits. I don't think Steve works every day, because if he did, then he would tell them, I'm at work and I don't want to be on every single media channel. They won't. You're right. Brian's brown bananas. They won't. Even if Bryan is released, they will never stop, because they'll still say he did it. They know it. You know, I saw something on their Facebook page, and they're still going with this story and saying that this happened because the victims were asleep. That's what I'm saying. They keep sticking to the story. And they know it's not true, but they still, and their followers are just as dumb. 2 sandwiches short of a picnic, because they still believe it.
He's actually a criminal lawyer too, who has represented them through this whole process and also understands the legal side of things. And I also wanted to talk to Shannon when this news came down. So listen to my conversation with Shannon. Hey, Shannon, it's nice to see you.
Patsy, yes, you're correct. Let's go on a little bit. I'm not going to play the whole thing. They are. We're going to talk about this with the big Amish when we do ours. This is big Amish. Do you think this is going to affect the lawsuits? I'm pretty sure it will. Let's go to this piece where he talks about the hair in Ethan's hand.
Oh, you look at it and you say, okay, well, did the defense talk to him about it, right? His defense counsel talked to him about it, or did the prosecution not give it to him? So you have to look at those things, right? So the prosecution did give it to him, because if you look at, you go back specifically, and I kind of pulled this stuff up on my phone, but if you go back and look at, it's the stipulated motion for the admission of additional exhibits as evidence at the trial, and it's a defense exhibit. And it shows debris from right hand of Ethan Chapin, which is what they're talking about as the hair. So the defense had it, right? They were aware of it. They obviously were probably aware of it too, because if they filed this motion, right, they probably talked to him about it. So he probably was aware of it as well. Additionally, in the discovery, it goes on and it's got discovery numbers at the bottom of it. It talks about in the discovery 009890, it was examined for hairs, microscopically consistent with hairs of the head of Bryan Kohberger. However, none were found, right? So but really all that is an argument for trial of your innocence. It's not a basis to overturn your guilty plea. So, and just saying that, and I think it would be hard pressed for any of his counsel to say that they didn't go over that evidence with him, right, and review it. And even that, if it is, let's just go worst case scenario, they didn't go over it with him. That still doesn't rise to the level of ineffective assistance of counsel. Okay. All that argument is really is the potential that someone else might have been there, right? It didn't match Kohberger's. So someone else might have been, that's the worst case scenario. It's not for, he still admitted guilt. It's not an argument for a new trial. So I'm not really sure what they're reaching at. I mean, I've told the family, you know, this is just another attempt at attention, and, you know, and he has a load of people that want to, you know, grab hold of this case and ride the train, the Kohberger train.
Who's this guy?
And it's just, all it does is just cause more distress and emotion for the family. And for me, it's just putting their mind at ease. I don't think he has any chance of getting a new trial based on the affidavit that I've seen. So
did he write that affidavit? Because it seemed like he was representing himself in what I saw.
it looked like his, I mean, I don't know what his handwriting is, but it looks like it was written, you know, out of a jail cell, right? I mean, or you know, it was, see if I've got, he signed it, I'm pretty sure. Let's see what I've got here.
Well, you know, Kierkegaard said, the Danish philosopher, he said, what we fear most has already.
It looks like it was signed by him and dated under certificate of perjury on July 22nd. So.
So I read in your statement, well, first of all, it's interesting. And in his statement, he said Broken Plea, which is the name of that book that came out. So
yeah,
I wonder if he like read the book and that sort of inspired him.
You know, I'm sure it did. I mean, you know, the reality of it is almost every case you can have alternative theories. That's the reason you have trials. I mean,
listen to him grabbing at straws. I wonder if he read the book and that inspired him. Really? Yeah, right. Maybe, I don't know what they were expecting. We kind of knew this was going to happen long before the book even came out. So I don't know, this Bryan Enton is not too bright.
I say you were doing this, you say you were doing something. I say it was, you were there because of this. You say, no, I was there because of that, right? That's the whole thing. The Broken Plea book, I haven't read it. But, you know, my take on that book to a certain degree is an author that's giving alternative theories. He's presenting evidence in a way that makes you question things, which our books are about. That's what they're supposed to do, is to invoke thought and processes. And he probably grabbed a hold of it and thought, maybe this gives me a shot at something, right? And so he files to try to withdraw his plea because you only have a year to do it, right? So it was coming up on.
He didn't think about it at all before this book. Oh, shame. Let's go on a bit. This guy makes me want to smack him. And I'm not like him to be a violent person.
You say, okay, well, I'll give it to you if you meet A, B, C, and D. And they say, well, I'll give A and B, but I'm not going to give C and D. You can either say, okay, we'll take it then. Or you can say, no, I want A, B, C, and D. And for us, it was that. It was something from him, a statement, you know, about what happened, what he did, anything like that. And guess what that does? That just locks it in. I mean, it's even more solid of a plea, right? Because he makes a statement about what he did. These guys that go in and they plead guilty and they don't make any statements, there's this idea that maybe they...
Is this guy for real? He's making it seem like Bryan didn't want to make a statement. Maybe I'm wrong, but didn't Bill Thompson say we don't want one because he's just going to lie?
Can withdraw their plea at a later date or things like that. But any of his arguments does not, none of it negates the fact that he pled guilty. There's DNA evidence there. There was plenty of evidence to convict him at trial. And nothing that I see at this time would call for a new trial in any way. And so, and I've advised my clients that way. So, you know, It's just more grandstanding, I think, on Kohberger's place. And, Mike's a reporter, Mike Baker, New York Times reporter. He's a reporter. I know him, and he's a nice guy, and I'm sure he was excited about Kohberger speaking with him, and he wanted to let everybody know. And, and so I get that, it's probably good.
New.
You know who else is excited? I don't know if you guys saw this, but I did see somewhere that the Gonsalves family actually tried to contact Bryan in prison. Yeah, they were declined. Now, I don't know if that's true. You just confirm it for me in the comments.
It's also
That's
news. I mean,
it's news, and it's good for his career, and stuff like that. So I get it. It doesn't negate the fact that the more you give people attention, especially narcissists, the more they'll take. And if you don't, oddly enough, news is power, right? And the more news you give them, the more powerful they feel. And there's going to be probably, 10 shows tonight about the legal analysis of withdrawing your plea of guilty. And someone will claim, well, if this and this and this could have happened and this could have happened, then yeah, he'll get a new trial, right? But there's nothing in his affidavit that calls for a new trial. The plea was I thought it was lock solid. Judge Hippler asked him all the questions you need to ask. Are you in fact guilty of the case, a trial? Yes, I am guilty, right? So, those things are not easily overturned. And the plea petitions have wording in there to make sure that the plea.
Is this guy taking something? They do, Lee. They call us. They don't. I think they're talking about Bryan, but they also take shots at us because you would think they would want the truth of what happened to their child, but they don't. This is what surprises me with this family. Bryan Ensign says, "Oh, they work. They've got a job to do." Trust me, if something happened to my child, I want to know what's happened. I wouldn't rest until I know what happened. Somebody's hiding comments. You don't have to. Don't worry. Let it go. I don't know who it is, but anyway, it enrages me because you would think they would be happy that this is happening, but they're all panicking. You can actually see them. Even Steve. Notice how he fidgets and his eyes go left, right, left, right. He's actually nervous about this. They are nervous because they know it wasn't Bryan and they're scared of the truth coming out. Again, why is he the only parent that is talking?
He is not overturned, right? So unless there's some ineffective assistance of counsel, which
exactly
I don't think any of us have thought that from the beginning. It's 2 years of motions and motion after motion after motion, and you should never follow this, motion that says, yes, the case law has been this way for 100 years, but in our case, you should change it. Those types of motions, right? I don't think he's going to win on that either. And I don't think any of the defense attorneys in this case are going to fall on their sword and say, you're right, we were dumb. We didn't go over that with him. We were stupid. You should get.
Big Amish, we need to discuss this about the defense attorneys. If you want to make a note on that. Let's just hear what he says here.
Give him a new trial. We were horrible. Right.
Yeah, right.
They're not going to do that. So, because that's where they'll go to on ineffective assistance of counsel. I've had defendants claim it all the time, and then you have to just basically develop your own affidavit and said, I talked with them about the facts of the case. I went through.
I think they were chosen to talk on it because if you look back to a previous live that they attended CrimeCon, they're being backed by Nancy Grace. So I do believe there's something to that. Big Amish, he used your term. Exactly. You predicted it. I'm sure they know.
the discovery on the case. I advised them of what the options were. We were ready for trial. They chose to take the plea. I advised them on the plea and all the things that go with the plea. I advised them about jail and what that looked like and any credit for time served or programs they could be available for. And my client decided to take the plea on this, you know.
Yeah, but this is the first time I've ever heard of somebody taking a plea when it's a death penalty case.
And the idea that I think I had to explain this to Steve, you know, today. He's like, yeah, but he's saying that they forced him because of the death penalty. It was hanging over him. Well, guess what? That's criminal cases are all that. I mean, if you're charged with a burglary in the first degree and the maximum penalty you could get is 5 years and you take a deal for 2 years, right? Your excuse is not, well, the only reason I took the deal for 2 years is because I could have got 5 years. I mean, that's his argument, right? That's the argument in the affidavit. Well, you know, the death penalty. So what? With that goes with the crime, right? Just because you took something less doesn't mean that the maximum penalty for that crime forced you into taking it. You just got a better deal, is all it is.
Shannon's another person that I've been in touch with since the beginning of this whole thing. It's interesting, like with cases like this and stories like this that I cover for years, you know, you develop these relationships with the players involved. Maybe players isn't the right word, but people involved. And, you know, it's like, right when you think the whole thing's over, suddenly it's like, you know, you're doing interviews again. And I just feel for all of them. I really feel for the families. For Ethan's family, for Xana's family, for Maddie's family, for Kaylee's family. But we'll see how this plays out. And look, there's a system in place and the law will do its thing. And doesn't seem like he's going to get the appeal. But if he does,
your Duped is also doing its thing.
Then that's what I'll cover, and we'll see how it plays out from there. So I appreciate you guys for watching. I appreciate everybody who subscribed. Again, I didn't know this was going to happen today, or I wouldn't be here in Arizona working on some Nancy Guthrie stuff. I knew maybe it was going to happen soon. I didn't know today, though. So I'll stay on top of it. If I can find out anything new, I'll keep you guys posted. Super hot out here, by the way. I don't know if any of you guys live in Arizona. It's like, I'm from Florida where, you know, it's like humid. It's a different kind of heat here. I mean, it's just, maybe I'm just used to that Florida heat, but it's like a sauna here. So I'll keep you guys posted and I'll talk to you guys later.
You didn't know it was going to happen today. So, as we say in South Africa, surprise. Well, you had to have known it was going to happen at some point. Let's go through the comments quickly. Oh, Lee, yes. Oh, wow, that's crazy that you spoke about that. I wonder how many of these people, given that we've talked about cults and rituals and that kind of thing, how many of them are inverts or just playing a role in all of this? Yeah, she does scare me. How convenient that she's the spokesperson for Othram, right? There's so many things that just don't make sense in this case. Too many things. So, okay, I think I'm going to have to quickly run. I hope I see you guys all. I'm not sure tomorrow. If it's not tomorrow, then it might be a bit later tomorrow or Thursday. But I'll put a post on. So thank you, everyone. I appreciate all of you being here. But I'm going to end, and then, yeah, we'll be back with Big Amish and Scully and everybody. So thank you. But I do think some of them. Oh, thank you, Brian. Brian's been. But I can't talk. I can't. It's time for me. Big Amish, I'll talk to you in a minute. All right, guys. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you either. Keep a lookout tomorrow or Thursday. So I'm going to say it'll be morning time, more or less. But I'll put a post on my channel. Okay. Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Big Amish, Linda, Lucy, Scully. If I didn't see your name, let's see. Who else is here? Lee, thank you. Jenna. Yep, you're right. It is Patty Ann. Who else is it? If I didn't mention your name, sorry. Let's see else who we've got. Brian's Brown Bananas. Linda, thank you. Chillin, thank you if you're still here. Scully. Lucy. All of you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, guys. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow.